Okay, this is potentially going to be a controversial topic. So let's get into it. Let's get this discussion started. Somebody asked me if I ever recommend taking a strategic withdrawal from dating. And I've been going back and forth with this guy, and from my perspective in his personal circumstances, no, like don't exit the dating market. That's generally been my perspective, and it's probably what you see here on the channel. Like, I'm not like, hey, just take this information as a sort of academic curiosity. I'm like, no, grab hold of this knowledge and use it to fill your being with a kind of like energized confidence. You understand what you didn't understand before. Your ignorance has been corrected. You've now got in touch with the reality. Now it's the time to get out onto the streets, to get out into these social circles, be potent with that knowledge, use it to improve your dating life and your relationships. That's my intention. I that's what I've been talking about on my channel. And I thought when he asked me, have I ever recommended taking a strategic withdrawal from dating? And I'm thinking, well, perhaps once or twice in like some videos in certain circumstances, but not really. But actually, when I think about it, there are some circumstances when you should be withdrawing from dating. Absolutely. I'm going to go through them in this video. It's just that I'm nervous about sorry, just to clarify, I've given that advice to men in private consultations and in Hey Hero requests before. So this is not completely new for me. It's just that the reason you're not going to see so much of that you just do your own thing, just go monk mode, just go your own way on my channel is because I think that it's so easy to convince yourself that it's the right thing morally, practically, socially, spiritually, dare I say. It's so easy to convince yourself of that when in truth, it's just an easier, more comfortable option because all of this stuff, it's hard. It's really hard. I've never made the claim that any of this is easy. Understanding this stuff is difficult. Applying this stuff in real life is difficult. Self-improvement, becoming a man that's actually exciting to women, that women are attracted to, that's hard. That takes a huge amount of effort. Knowing how to speak to women, knowing how to talk to them, knowing how to seduce them, knowing how to get them into relationships, really hard. Even if you succeed at all of that stuff, actually having a functional, healthy relationship, basically impossible. Certainly not impossible. No, my channel will help you. It can definitely be done. But do you understand, like my point is that with such a strong bias and all of those things working against you being happy in relationships, do you see how your mind, you've got to be suspicious of your mind because it's going to be looking for escapes. The brain kind of likes to avoid pain, it's to seek pleasure. That's kind of one of our basic instincts. And so with all this stuff with dating and self-improvement all being so difficult, do you see your mind is just going to be eager to grab at any excuse to be like, okay, no, I don't need to do that. Now, obviously, no one's actually going to say, oh, well, I'm not doing that because I'm a loser. No one's ever going to love me. They're going to say, no, I'm a hero. I'm doing this for a greater cause. I'm doing this for something bigger than myself. I'm going to get to it later, and then it's going to be better than ever. I've seen a lot of guys rationalize exiting the dating market with this feeling of, I'm just going to be a monk for a little while. I'm going to retreat and I'm going to become, amazing. Then I'll strike out when I'm strong. And, it can be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the track. And they've never really felt like it was right. And suddenly they're, writing to me saying, look, I've been sleeping with prostitutes because I need some female contact. Do you think this is a good way of me getting back into talking with real women? And I'm like, okay. Before we even get to that, where did this exit from the dating market come from? What was your mindset? What was your value system? For the most part, you can see that I'm quite passionate about men not exiting the dating market, but I do have some reasonably big exceptions. Okay, so the first one that I'll obviously just talk about is that if you are like done with women, done with relationships, done with dating, then yeah, obviously exit. And I can't tell you when to make that call for yourself. For the most part, my apologies for my phone. For the most part, I don't recommend guys go there, but I think that most of my audiences are younger guys. I don't want to see any guy at age 25 write to me and say, yeah, I've given it my best shot and I'm done. I'm like, that's too young to be calling quits on it. But if you're a lot older and you genuinely haven't had fun in relationships and you genuinely have better things to do with your time and you're quite at peace with just leaving that part of your life behind, absolutely makes sense. Like, go for it. That's legitimate reason. But for these young guys who are tempted to leave dating because they think it's too hard, I so strongly recommend against that concept. My fear is that you've spent too much time on the internet listening to horror stories, listening to horrible theories that just paint the dating market as all doom and gloom, and it's gotten into your mind, and you're not able to even see a possibility for hope anymore. And that sucks. That's definitely what the majority of my content is trying to warn against. Like, please don't let this information and this knowledge be too depressing. Please let it empower you. How exactly you're meant to do that, I can understand it can be difficult, but I'm doing my best to always give you that sense of optimism. So if you're taking a break, from the dating, just while you get your stuff together, please understand that the way to tell whether or not you're actually just taking a break from dating itself or whether or not you're just running away is what other things are you doing in your life? Are you running away from other things? Are you quitting jobs? Are you saying no to social engagements? Have you given up trying to make new friends? Have you given up to expanding a social circle? Have you also given up self-improvement? Like, you might be saying in your mind, oh, it's because the dating market is so terrible, or because women are too hypergamous for me, or whatever it might be, and you're putting the blame there. But look at all aspects of your life. Are you absolutely killing it in all areas, or is this one of those situations where, no, you've used a convenient scapegoat in one area where legitimately it is very difficult, but you're using that as a moral justification to kind of excuse yourself from any kind of responsibilities or accountability in all areas of your life, because that's not good. Now, the two times when I would recommend that men do take a strategic withdrawal from dating are these circumstances. Is one, after a bad breakup, and two, after relentless rejection. And both of these are strategic withdrawals with the aim of regaining your strength and coming back stronger. It's not like a permanent quitting point. Every man will have their breaking point. And some of you guys have reached out to me, letting me know when your breaking point was. Some of your older guys, and I respect your decision. Hearing what you've been through, I can understand. It's hard to say that were I not in the same place, I'd make that same decision. But for the most part, I'm just talking about a temporary withdrawal. So let's go through them first. Now, the bad breakup is a particularly difficult one because there's a lot of factors that are actually going to play into the reason why you need to make a strategic withdrawal. And the first one I'm going to say is that it's because your trust has been burned. Like, if you've had a bad breakup, that probably means that you didn't see it coming. The person that you were in a relationship with, you imagined was probably going to be your forever partner. You might have made plans, you've imagined a future, and to have that taken away from you is going to leave you really quite frightened and a bit panicky about the thought of opening yourself up to that again and being vulnerable. That makes sense. That's not an irrational fear. It can become irrational down the line, but if you have just experience something traumatic in your relationships with other people, it would make sense that you're not super keen and eager to just dive into the next one. Of course, you want to take some time for yourself to figure out what the hell just happened. And the thing is that your trust, although it was burned inside a romantic relationship, it doesn't tend to only be affected within the realm and sphere of romance. Okay, so what you tend to find is that for men who have been victims of like a traumatic, abusive woman, or they just didn't see the breakup coming and now they're left reeling, they often find it difficult to open up not just to the next woman that comes along, but to their male friends, to therapists, to their parents, to their siblings. There's a sense of, I trusted a human being and a human being let me down. And so now I don't quite know where I stand or where I'm meant to be going with any of this stuff. That's real and it can be quite terrifying. So what I would say is that you need to be extraordinarily cautious about the company that you choose in the aftermath of a breakup if your trust has been badly burned. You only want to be spending time with people who have proved themselves again and again and again to be trustworthy, because mentally, it's going to be so easy for your brain to start going down that path of everyone's against me, everybody's, not got my best interests at heart, they're antagonistic to what's right for me, that you need overwhelming proof of the opposite for you to start to build that foundation again. But trust is not the only part of it, okay? So you also need to reevaluate what you're looking for in a relationship. Why did this break up? Was it because you were shooting for something that wasn't possible? You had unrealistic expectations about what that would look like? You need to take that time during this strategic withdrawal to actually replan. So many of the guys who've come to this channel, they discovered me after a particularly bad breakup, and what happened was that they had this absolutely unrealistic expectation of what the relationship was meant to be like, total Disney fairy tale kind of stuff, and they simped over the woman and all kinds of disasters. So during that strategic withdrawal, think really carefully, all right, what do I want from relationships? What actually can it bring me and what are its limitations? I can't just imagine that I find a girl that all my problems go away forever. What is a realistic expectation to have in a relationship? And then while you're at it, you also want to check into what you regard as quality of woman, because a lot of guys, again, who've come to this channel, they've been burned by choosing the wrong woman. So you need to actually look at that. Like, why did you choose that girl? Was she really attractive? And so you're willing to overlook the fact that she was really mean to you, like early on in the relationship? Was she too old for you? Was she too young for you? Was there a maturity, difference? Do you have completely different conflict resolution styles? The next girl that you date needs to be different from the one who broke your heart, right? If you continue to date the exact same type of woman and it always ends the same way, at some point, my compassion for you starts to leave, because it almost seems like you're being a little bit masochistic, like you enjoy the punishment. No, after a major life upheaval, you need to stop, reevaluate, get new priorities before you start making any new moves. And perhaps the biggest one is that you need to look at yourself, right? So for whatever reason, you're making bad choices, you have unrealistic expectations, you're ruining relationships. If it was your fault, you might need to fix yourself. Like, look, why did that happen? What was going on for me? What do I believe? What's my self-esteem? What are my values? What are my emotions? All of that stuff, you might need to do a massive overhaul so that when you go back out onto the dating market, you're a different version of yourself. And that is the key piece of advice that I'm going to say for the second reason why I would recommend a strategic withdrawal, is that if you've just experienced too much rejection to the point where you're totally depressed, yeah, you need to pull yourself out of the fire. Just give yourself some breathing room. Now, how much is too much? Rejection is a highly, highly subjective point of view. And in my experience, mostly what I've seen through my Hey Hero requests is guys are not taking enough rejection. They need to go way further into it. I feel like possibly it's the culture in that everyone's feelings need to be protected at all times, or possibly it's technology. We've just gotten used to everything being so easy for us that there exists this generation of guys who don't expect dating to be hard. They've tried, I spoke to a girl on some online game server and it didn't work out. Or I asked out my best friend of 6 years if she was sexually attracted to me. She said no. I gave it my shot. No, that's not enough. You need to have much more realistic expectations for how much punishment you need to go through in terms of your rejection in the dating market. It's going to be rough. It's going to be brutal. You're going to make some mistakes. God, when I think of the mistakes that I've made in my life, but I don't, right? At a certain point, they don't really even feel like mistakes. They just feel like character building blocks, and they make you a better version of who you are. But it seems like some guys are so fragile that they can only take a few rejections before they just oh no, I've given my shot. I can't go any further. Please don't come to me expecting sympathy and compassion if you've bailed out too quickly. You've got to be more masculine than that. You've got to be tougher than that. I'm here for you. My emotional compassion is there. It's rough. You can tell me how much it sucks. We can be upset about that together 100%. But fundamentally, if you're using those negative emotions as an excuse to not continue to take action, then you're not going to find so much of a sympathetic partner in me. I would expect you to push past it. But everybody does have their limit. And so if it's just been 2 or 3 years with no Tinder matches, the few girls who've agreed to go on dates have just laughed in your face. You've asked women out in your social circle, you've asked women out on the street, and all you're getting is really negative responses. At some point, it's just kind to yourself to take a break. A strategic withdrawal is absolutely fine. Now, what I tend to say is that if over and over and over again, you're finding that you're getting rejected, then there's got to be something about you. Now, maybe that's your appearance, maybe it's nothing that you can change, but if you're also getting the same reactions in social circles that are platonic, in work circles, in hobbies, if generally people are not that excited to be around you, you're just not a very interesting guy, they don't respect you, you're not fun, anything like that, then the reason why you're getting rejected isn't to do with everybody else. It's got to do with you. And so there needs to be a fundamental shift in who you are, which is why I say that there's that similarity between this and the last point that I made about the recovering from a breakup. The way that you've got to do it is to segment inside your mind, okay, all of those rejections belong to old Alex. I'm going to take 6 months off or longer, however long you need. I'm going to change myself. I'm going to transform. And then when I come back out, I'm going to give everybody that clean slate. It's like, all right, they haven't met new Alex. I'm a different person. So what is that going to look like? It's going to be cutting out, alcohol, cigarettes, weed, video games, pornography, whatever your particular vice is. It's going to be getting in shape, going to the gym so you feel better about yourself physically. It's going to be learning a martial arts so you feel confident around other men, like you can hold your own. It's going to be learning social skills. That's right. Just because you're bowing out of the dating game doesn't mean that you need to stop seeing your friends, doesn't mean you need to necessarily stop cold approach like practice, learning how to flirt, anything like that. It means coming onto my channel and other areas of the internet where you can learn this kind of information. Essentially, you're taking all of those rejections as the sign that there's something that fundamentally you haven't got, but that you can get. You just need a little time to integrate that information to become a new person. You need to clean up your house, clean up your room, get some cool shit, feel excited about you. You've got to like you, right? Like if you don't like you, then it's just punishing to put yourself out there in the dating market because people are just going to reflect back to you what you're feeling inside yourself. I don't like me. Hey, but can you please like me even though I don't? It's like, well, no, women are just going to say no to that. So it's like, all right, I'm going to take a break until I like me. And then I'm going to go out there with that more confident frame and I'm going to expect people to just go along with, yeah, why wouldn't you like me? I'm amazing. I'm great. Oh, I feel like I started to speak quite fast towards the end there, so let's just slow things down. But you can see the larger point that I'm making is that this strategic withdrawal is sometimes the kindest thing to do to yourself because it's going to be worse in the long run if you continue to put yourself out there in the dating market. Like if you've had that bad breakup, to jump straight back into new relationships and just the dating when you haven't recovered from the first one, that's only going to compound the problem. It's going to be worse. If you've got rejection 100 times and you haven't changed anything, doing the same thing the 101st time is only going to make you feel even worse about yourself. The outcome is absolutely inevitable. So you've got to make those shifts. So I want to finish on this point. If you're one of these people who's considering making those shifts, just remember what I said at the start of this video. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure that it's genuinely going to be time away from dating and relationships to really transform your life and become a better version of yourself. And it's not just, this is too hard. I don't like to feel uncomfortable. And so I'm going to bail away and stay safe inside my little bubble. One is a good idea and one is a bad idea. So it very much depends on your intentions. Potentially a controversial topic. I look forward to reading the comment section on this one. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I'll see you in the next one.